The strangest kind of emptiness is the one nobody understands because from the outside, your life looks full. You worked for it, you chased it, you sacrificed for it, and now you finally have what you once prayed for: the money, the progress, the status, the success. Maybe not everything, but enough to prove that you made it further than the person you used to be. And yet, why does it still feel like something is missing? Why do so many successful people sit alone at night feeling absolutely hollow? Why does achievement sometimes feel powerful for a moment and meaningless right after? And the most uncomfortable question of all, what if the thing you spent years chasing was never capable of filling what was empty inside you? That question terrifies people. Because if success cannot fix the emptiness, then what can? Most people believe success and happiness are connected, that if you work hard enough, earn enough, achieve enough, you'll finally feel complete, finally feel safe, finally feel enough. That belief drives millions of people every day. Wake up, work harder, push harder, become more, and maybe then you'll feel okay. But something strange happens when people reach the thing they wanted, the thing they thought would change everything. Sometimes nothing changes, their life changes, but they don't. And that creates one of the deepest psychological conflicts a human can experience. Because how do you explain pain when your life looks successful? How do you explain emptiness when you have what others are desperately trying to get? And that's where the suffering becomes invisible. Because when unsuccessful people feel empty, people understand. But when successful people feel empty, people judge. They say, how can you be unhappy? Look at your life. Look at what you have. Look at how far you've come. And that makes the emptiness worse. Because now the person starts feeling guilty for their pain. They don't just feel empty, they feel ashamed of being empty. And shame is dangerous because shame forces silence. Silence forces suppression, and suppression creates emotional distance, not just from others, from yourself. That's where this psychology begins. Not with money, not with success, but with a lie. A lie almost everyone believes. That achievement creates emotional completion. It doesn't. Achievement creates evidence, not healing. Evidence that you can win. Evidence that you can build, evidence that you can rise. But emotional wounds don't disappear because life improved. Pain does not care about success. Trauma does not care about money. Loneliness does not care about status, and insecurity does not disappear because people admire you. In fact, sometimes success makes insecurity stronger because now you have something to lose. And this is where the first psychological trap begins, the trap of conditional worth. This begins early, very early. A child gets praised when they perform, good grades, good behavior, good results, and slowly, without realizing it, the child learns something dangerous. Love follows performance, approval follows achievement, worth follows success, and when that child becomes an adult, achievement stops being ambition. It becomes survival. Success no longer means growth, it means safety. Because deep inside, they believe, if I achieve enough, I will finally feel worthy. And that belief creates obsession. It creates high performers, disciplined people, focused people, successful people. But here's the hidden cost. If your worth is built on achievement, then achievement can never truly satisfy you. Because worth built externally always feels unstable, temporary, fragile. And that's why some of the most successful people in the world feel like frauds inside. Not because they failed, because their internal world never changed. They built a powerful life on top of an unstable foundation. And no matter how beautiful the building becomes, the foundation still shakes. Imagine spending 10 years climbing a mountain, believing the top will change everything, believing peace is waiting there, believing happiness is waiting there, believing relief is waiting there. And then one day you reach the top. And for a moment, it feels incredible. You did it. You made it. You proved yourself. But then a few days later, the feeling fades. And suddenly you realize you are still you. Same mind, same fears, same emptiness. That realization can destroy people because now the dream is gone. Before success, hope protected them. Hope said, one day, I'll be okay. One day I'll feel complete. One day I'll be happy. But success removes that illusion. And now the mind is forced to face something painful. What if the emptiness was never about lacking success? What if it was always internal? That realization is brutal because now there is nowhere to run. And psychologically, that's why many successful people keep chasing bigger goals. Not because they want more, because they're trying to outrun the silence. The silence after achievement is terrifying because achievement is loud, busy, distracting. It keeps the mind occupied. But when the goal is reached, the noise stops, and in that silence, the person hears themselves again, their fears, their wounds, their loneliness, their emptiness, and many people cannot tolerate that. So they chase again. Bigger target, bigger goal, bigger achievement, not for growth, for escape. And this creates what psychology calls the achievement cycle, a loop. Pain, achievement, relief, emptiness, pain again, achievement again, relief again, emptiness again, over and over. And the person confuses movement with healing. But movement is not healing. Success can distract pain. It cannot resolve it. That's why some people become addicted to achievement. Not because achievement feels good, because stopping feels unbearable. And that distinction changes everything. Think about that. What if your ambition isn't passion? What if it's pain? What if the reason you can't stop working, can't stop pushing, can't stop chasing is because slowing down forces you to feel what you've been avoiding? That question changes people because now success looks different. Now the trophies look different. Now the goals look different. Now the hustle looks different. And that's where the second psychological layer begins, identity fusion. This happens when success becomes identity, not something you do, something you are, and that is dangerous. Because when identity depends on success, rest feels like failure, stillness feels like worthlessness, and ordinary life feels empty. That's why highly successful people often struggle with simple peace, because peace feels unfamiliar, and the human brain distrusts what feels unfamiliar, even if it's healthy. If chaos built your identity, peace will feel uncomfortable. If struggle built your self-worth, ease will feel unnatural. And this creates a paradox. The person gets everything they wanted but cannot emotionally receive it because their nervous system was trained for pursuit, not peace. This is why some successful people sabotage happiness, not consciously, psychologically, because happiness feels still, and stillness creates emotional exposure, and emotional exposure is dangerous when your inner world feels unresolved. So the mind creates motion, more work, more goals, more ambition, more distraction, anything to avoid stillness, because stillness reveals truth. And truth can be painful. Here's something almost nobody talks about. Success often isolates people, not physically, psychologically, because success changes social dynamics. People treat you differently, expect more, project more, need more, and slowly you start wondering who actually sees you, not your success, you. And that creates loneliness, a very specific kind. The loneliness of being surrounded but not understood. That loneliness hurts deeply because humans don't just need admiration, they need connection. And admiration is not connection. Admiration says, I respect what you've done. Connection says, I understand who you are. Those are very different things. And many successful people receive massive admiration but very little emotional understanding. That creates emotional starvation. And emotional starvation creates emptiness because humans cannot survive psychologically on achievement alone. We need meaning, connection, belonging, presence. And when success becomes the center of life, those things often disappear, quietly, gradually, until one day the person realizes, I built a life, but I lost myself. That moment is devastating because it forces a painful reflection. Who am I without success? Who am I without achievement? Who am I without progress? That question is terrifying because many people don't know. They spent so long becoming valuable, they forgot how to simply be. And here's the truth, being is harder than becoming. Because becoming gives direction, being gives reflection, and reflection exposes everything. This is why vacations feel uncomfortable for many high performers. Nothing to chase, nothing to prove, nothing to build, just presence. And presence can feel unbearable when your mind is built on movement. That's not laziness, that's psychology. And underneath all of this, there's something even deeper: expectation. Expectation is one of the strongest psychological forces in human life. And successful people often suffer from expectation overload, not just from others, from themselves. They expected happiness, security, fulfillment, peace. And when reality does not match expectation, the brain experiences emotional dissonance, a painful gap between what was promised and what is real. And that gap feels like emptiness, not because life is bad, because life did not emotionally deliver what the mind imagined. That gap breaks people quietly because now they don't know what to chase. And if they don't know what to chase, they don't know how to feel alive. That is one of the deepest psychological wounds of success, because goals create structure. But after success, structure disappears and emptiness enters. So let me ask you something. If success was supposed to make you feel whole, why do so many successful people feel empty? Why does achieving everything still leave a hole inside? And if the thing you're chasing won't fix what hurts, then what are you really chasing? That question sits at the center of everything, and the answer gets even deeper because the mind has another trick, a cruel one. The moment you achieve something, it normalizes it. What once felt extraordinary becomes ordinary. What once felt exciting becomes expected. What once felt like enough becomes not enough. And that psychological mechanism is one of the strongest reasons success feels empty. Because the mind adapts. Faster than most people realize. That's where everything changes, because the real reason success feels empty is not success itself. It's what the mind does after success, and what the mind does after success is one of the most powerful psychological mechanisms in human life. It adapts. Quickly, sometimes cruelly. What once felt impossible becomes normal. What once felt extraordinary becomes expected. And what once felt like enough starts feeling small. This is called hedonic adaptation, and it explains something almost nobody prepares you for. The emotional high of achievement was never designed to last. The brain is built for survival, not permanent satisfaction. So the moment you achieve something, your nervous system recalibrates. It resets your emotional baseline. That dream car becomes your car. That dream house becomes your house. That dream job becomes your job. That dream life becomes your life. And suddenly, the thing you once thought would complete you feels ordinary. Not because it lost value, because your mind adjusted. And this creates panic. Because if the thing you wanted most became normal, what now? What do you chase now? What do you attach hope to now? And this is where many successful people become trapped, because they mistake adaptation for failure. They think, why doesn't this feel as good as I imagined? Why am I still restless? Why am I still empty? Maybe I need more money, more success, more progress. And the chase continues. But the psychology stays the same. Because more of the same thing cannot heal a wound created by the same system. That's the tragedy. People think they're one more achievement away from peace, but peace was never waiting there. Peace was never at the next level. Peace was always in the relationship between you and yourself. And that relationship is often the part success neglects. Because success rewards output, not emotional honesty. Success rewards results, not inner repair. Success rewards performance, not presence. So a person can become incredibly successful while remaining emotionally undeveloped. That sounds harsh, but it's true. A person can build wealth and still not know how to sit with themselves. A person can build status and still feel invisible inside. A person can build a powerful life and still feel powerless emotionally, because external growth and internal growth are not the same thing, and many people confuse them. That confusion creates emptiness, because external growth without internal growth creates imbalance, and imbalance creates suffering. Think about how many people say, I'll rest when I succeed. I'll be happy when I achieve this. I'll feel okay when I reach that. Notice what's happening there. They're postponing emotional permission. They are placing happiness in the future, and the future becomes a hostage because now happiness is conditional, and conditional happiness is unstable because conditions keep changing. That's why successful people often struggle to feel satisfied, because satisfaction requires presence, and success trains future focus. Success says, next goal, next step, next milestone, always next, never now. And if your mind is always living in next, it can never emotionally experience now. That's why people can achieve everything and still feel like they haven't arrived, because psychologically, they never learned how to arrive. Their mind is still running, still scanning, still calculating, still comparing. Comparison. That's another hidden wound. Success does not end comparison. It often intensifies it. Before success, you compare yourself to people ahead of you. After success, you compare yourself to people even further ahead, and the latter never ends. There is always someone richer, smarter, bigger, more successful, more admired. And if your self-worth depends on comparison, peace becomes impossible because comparison destroys completion. It makes enough feel insufficient. It makes progress feel small. It makes life feel unfinished. And that's why some successful people feel poorer emotionally than they did before success, because now their standards have changed and their emotional needs have expanded. Success raises the ceiling, but it also raises the pressure, and pressure changes the emotional experience of life. Pressure makes joy harder. Pressure makes rest harder. Pressure makes authenticity harder, because now there's something to protect. An image, a reputation, a standard, and protecting an identity is exhausting, especially when that identity is performance-based. This is why some successful people secretly fantasize about disappearing, not because they want to lose everything, because they want relief from carrying everything. The expectations, the image, the pressure, the need to keep proving, that burden is heavy, and people rarely talk about it because the world romanticizes success. It shows the reward, not the weight. It shows the victory, not the maintenance. And maintaining success can be emotionally draining because getting there and staying there are different battles. Getting there requires hunger. Staying there requires stability. And many people built hunger but never built stability. So success amplifies instability. It exposes it. Like turning up the volume on unresolved emotional patterns. That's why success can intensify anxiety, not reduce it, because now there's more at stake, more responsibility, more visibility, more fear of loss. And fear of loss is stronger than joy of gain. Psychologically, humans are wired that way. We fear losing what we have more than we enjoy gaining it. So ironically, success can create more fear than failure. Failure hurts, but success creates maintenance anxiety. Can I keep this? Can I sustain this? Can I protect this? And that anxiety slowly eats peace. This is why some people miss the struggling phase, because struggle gave them clarity, a mission, a direction, a purpose. When survival is the goal, life feels sharp, focused, simple. But when survival is solved, meaning becomes the new problem, and meaning is much harder to solve. Money solves practical problems. It does not solve existential ones. Success solves external problems. It does not solve internal ones. And that distinction is everything, because humans are not just practical beings. We are meaning-seeking beings. We need purpose, not just progress. We need connection, not just achievement. We need truth, not just image. And when those deeper needs are ignored, emptiness grows. Quietly, like hunger. At first, subtle, then consuming. And this is the moment where many people ask the burning question again. If success cannot make me whole, what can? If achievement cannot fill the emptiness, what will? If becoming more isn't enough, then what am I missing? That question is painful because it forces a radical shift. a shift from achievement to awareness, from performance to presence, from proving to understanding. And this is where healing begins. Not when you achieve more, when you understand more. The first thing successful people must understand is that emptiness is not failure. It is information. It is the mind revealing an unmet need, a deeper need, one that achievement cannot touch. Maybe the need is connection, real connection, not admiration, not validation, connection. Maybe the need is rest, not sleep, rest, the kind where your nervous system feels safe. Maybe the need is identity, a self not built on performance, a self that exists even when nothing is being achieved. That is one of the hardest things for high performers to build, an identity outside performance, because performance became protection. If I perform, I matter. If I achieve, I belong. If I win, I am enough. But that system breaks eventually because humans cannot perform their way into peace. Peace is not earned, it is allowed. And allowing peace requires surrender. Surrender is terrifying to achievers because achievers trust control. Control built their life, but control cannot build inner peace. Control can build systems, wealth, results, but peace comes from acceptance. Acceptance of what you feel, acceptance of what hurts, acceptance of what remains unresolved. And many successful people spend years avoiding that until the emptiness becomes louder than the achievements. And when that happens, they face the most important psychological question of their life. Who am I if I stop achieving? Not what do I do? Who am I? That question changes everything. Because for the first time, the person is forced to meet themselves, not their image, not their achievements, not their identity, themselves. And that meeting can be uncomfortable, but it is sacred because it is honest. And honesty is where healing starts, not success, honesty. The honesty that says, I am tired, I am lonely, I am afraid, I am empty, and I've been using achievement to avoid that. That honesty is powerful because naming pain reduces its power, and understanding pain changes your relationship to it. This is the moment where ambition transforms. Before, ambition was escape. Now, ambition becomes expression. Before, success was proof. Now, success becomes creation. Before, achievement was survival. Now, achievement becomes contribution. That shift changes everything because now success is no longer carrying your worth. Your worth carries your success, and that creates emotional freedom. The freedom to succeed without needing success. The freedom to rest without guilt. The freedom to slow down without fear. The freedom to exist without proving. That is real wealth, not money. Psychological freedom, inner stability, self-acceptance, presence, meaning. These are the things people think success will bring, but success cannot bring what only self-awareness can build. That's why some people with very little feel deeply fulfilled, and some people with everything feel painfully empty. Because fulfillment is not possession, it is alignment. Alignment between your life and your truth, between your actions and your values, between your success and your soul. And when those align, something changes. Success feels lighter, life feels fuller, rest feels safer, love feels deeper, presence feels possible, and the emptiness begins to loosen, not disappear overnight, but soften. Because now the person stops asking success to do what it was never meant to do. Success was never supposed to heal you. Success was never supposed to complete you. Success was never supposed to make you love yourself. That was always your work. And maybe that's the relief. Maybe the relief is realizing you were never broken because success didn't fix you. Success was just never the cure, and that means the answer is not farther away. It's closer than you think, in your honesty, in your relationships, in your presence, in your healing, in your ability to sit still and not feel the need to become someone else, because maybe the goal was never to become enough. Maybe you already were, and all the chasing, all the climbing, all the proving was just your mind trying to reach a place your heart was always asking you to return to. Home, not a house, not a destination. Home inside yourself. And maybe that's what successful people who feel empty are really searching for. Not more success, not more money, not more status, home. And once you find that, success stops being your identity. It becomes part of your life, not your life. And for the first time, achievement feels lighter, rest feels safer, and happiness stops feeling like something you have to earn. Because the truth is, the emptiness was never asking for more. It was asking to be heard. And once you hear it, really hear it, something beautiful happens. You stop chasing life and start living it. Please like and subscribe.